Hello and welcome to the show. Tasya sanjanayan harsham kuru vriddha pitamaha sinhanadam vinadyochaiha shankham dadhmo pratapavan.
Okay, picture this. The Kurukshetra battlefield. It's incredibly tense. You can almost feel it. Huge armies are just waiting right on the edge of this massive conflict.
Yeah, the air is thick with it. And today, we're zooming right in, not the whole epic battle, but just one single moment. It's verse 12, chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita.
Seems super specific, right? But that's the idea for this deep dive.
Exactly, because packed into this one verse, this one action, there's a lot. Psychology, morality, spirituality, it's all in there.
So our mission today is to sort of unpack that, show how these, seemingly small details in ancient texts can actually tell us something profound, something that still matters today.
Absolutely. So the scene, Duryodhana has just sized up the enemy, the Pandavas, and then Bhishma, the grand old man, the respected grandsire, he does something significant.
A really pivotal moment.
It is. And it seems simple, but the weight it carries, wow, it echoes to the whole story. So the verse itself in Sanskrit is Tasya Sanyanayan Harha Kuruvidha Pitamaha Syanada Vinajoche Shaukha Dagmo Pratavan 112.
Okay, and the English translation?
It goes, Then the grand old man of the Kuru dynasty, the glorious Bhishma, blew his conch loudly like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy and encouragement.
Joy and encouragement. Okay, let's really get into Bhishma first. Who is this guy? Why does his action matter so much here?
Right. Well, Bhishma's position is frankly unique. He's the grand uncle to both sides fighting this war, the Kauravas and the Pandavas.
Both sides. Wow.
Yeah. And he's not just family, he's this legendary warrior, immensely powerful, so much so that, people were genuinely afraid to face him directly.
And he had made this huge commitment, this vow, hadn't he? That plays a big part.
Oh, absolutely crucial. He'd taken a vow, a lifelong vow of celibacy, and also pledged to serve whoever sat on the throne of Hastinapur. Always.
Which sounds noble, but
But the consequence, you see, is that it binds him. It ties him to the Kauravas, to the Duryodhana's side, even though, most interpretations suggest he knew the Pandavas had the more righteous claim.
Okay. So it's complicated.
Deeply. It throws us right into this complex idea of dharma, duty, righteousness. It's not always straightforward. Bhishma's stuck, isn't he? His loyalty is to the throne because of his vow, but his inner sense of truth, of justice, that might be pointing elsewhere.
That really puts his action blowing the conch right then into perspective. It's not just noise.
Not at all. It's immediate effect. It's public. It's loud. He's clearly, undeniably saying, I'm with Duryodhana. I'm with the Kauravas.
And strategically, for morale, that must have been huge.
Oh, massive. Especially for Duryodhana. Think about it.
Yeah.
Bhishma commands immense respect. Just having him there is one thing, but having him actively signal his support like this, that's a major psychological win for their side.
Right. The verse even says it brought Duryodhana joy and encouragement. Why focus on his reaction?
Well, Duryodhana, despite all the bluster, he's likely quite insecure deep down.
You think so?
I mean, look who he's facing. The Pandava brothers, Arjuna, Bhima, and Krishna himself. These aren't just warriors. They represent dharma, righteousness, immense power. Duryodhana must have had doubts, right? About whether what he was doing was actually, okay.
So Bhishma blowing the conch, it's like getting a stamp of approval from this incredibly respected elder.
Exactly. It's like a father figure saying, I've got your back. It bolsters Duryodhana's confidence, his ego maybe, but not necessarily the rightness of his cause.
That's interesting. It's validation, but maybe not ethical validation.
Precisely. And think about it. How often do we do that? Seek approval, even when there's that little voice inside saying, maybe this isn't quite right. It's a very human thing, that need for validation, for ego protection.
Okay, so that's Duryodhana's side. What about Bhishma himself? What could be going on inside him as he makes this lion's roar?
That's where it gets even more fascinating, I think. This incredibly powerful sound, this Simhanadam, the lion's roar. Could it also be, perhaps, Bhishma trying to suppress his own conflict?
Like drowning out his own doubts.
Possibly. Projecting this image of absolute certainty, unwavering support, maybe to convince himself as much as anyone else. It could be a way to sort of mask the inner turmoil he must be feeling being bound by that vow.
Let's talk about the symbols. The conch shell, the Shankha, that's a powerful symbol in itself, isn't it?
Oh, hugely significant. In Vedic tradition, the Shankha is sacred. It represents The primordial sound, the vibration of creation itself. It's not just a horn.
Wow, okay. And the lion's roar, the Simhanadam. What does that bring to mind?
Power, authority, courage, fearlessness, a kind of untamed strength.
So you have the sacred object representing cosmic sound, Amon.
Combined with this roar of earthly power and authority.
But it's being used to announce the start of a war, not exactly peace and creation.
And that's the paradox, isn't it? It's striking. A sacred sound, a symbol of the divine, being used to kick off this massive destructive conflict.
It really shines a light on power itself, then.
It does. It suggests the power, the sound, the strength. It's neutral, fundamentally. It's the intention, the context, the dharma or adharma behind it that gives it its quality. Is it divine or destructive? Here, Bhishma is using this potent, almost sacred sound, arguably in the service of unrighteousness, adharma.
And like you said, maybe that roar is also him trying to silence his own inner conflict, pushing it down.
It's a compelling idea.
Yeah.
Like the louder the outer roar, the quieter he hopes his inner voice becomes. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, for us, for anyone listening, where does your own strength come from? Is it rooted in like genuine inner peace and clarity?
Yeah.
Or is it sometimes, a bit of a performance masking doubts?
That's a deep question. So bringing this back to us listening today, how does this moment on an ancient battlefield connect to our lives?
Well, think about Bhishma's dilemma. How often do we make decisions based on obligation, on promises we made or roles we feel we have to play, even if deep down we feel maybe there's a better, truer path now?
Yeah, feeling bound by something. Duty, loyalty, expectation, when your gut tells you something different.
Exactly. We can get tied into knots by past commitments that maybe don't align with our present values or understanding of what's right.
And Duryodhana's side of it, seeking that validation, wanting someone, especially someone respected, to just say, you're okay, even if we suspect we might not be.
Right. We want the reassurance sometimes more than we want the truth, So it prompts us to think about our own conch, our voice, our actions, the way we express ourselves, the influence we have. Are we using it, for truth, for connection, for building things up? Or sometimes maybe without realizing it, are we using it to amplify fear or ego or division?
And are we listening to that quiet inner voice, that conscience? Or is it just drowned out by all the noise, outside opinions, pressures, what everyone else is doing? This one verse, Bhishma blowing his conch, it really opens up these big questions about our own motivations.
It really does. Where are actions coming from? Is it genuine inner knowing, that sense of alignment?
Yeah.
Or is it more of a reaction, just going along with things?
So yeah, clearly much more than just a battle horn being blown.
Definitely. Verse 12 is like this tiny snapshot that captures the huge themes of the whole epic. Duty versus wisdom, ego versus integrity, how even sacred things, sacred power can be pulled into worldly, maybe even unrighteous goals.
And it comes back to individual choice, really. Our choices. Are they based on just loyalty no matter what? Or on ego? Or on something deeper, a sense of real truth?
That's the heart of it. So the thought to maybe leave with is this. As you go about your life, making your choices, expressing yourself, try to let your own inner conch, your voice, your actions, let it come from a place of awareness, of clarity, not from anxiety or confusion or just, going through the motions.
That's powerful. True strength, real power. Maybe it's not about being the loudest or making the biggest show. Maybe it's about being aligned with that inner sense of dharma, of what's truly right.
Well said. It's about that alignment, not just the volume.